This conference will now be recorded.
All right, Mr. Gilbert.
Present. Are we doing roll call or are we just,
Yep.
okay.
Yes, so Gilbert is present. Lee Reader?
Present.
Reader present. Abdus?
Yeah, here.
Abdus present. Baines?
Here.
Baines present. Barandis? Barandis absent. Burns?
Here.
Burns present. And then I'm holding off on Tom Smith, correct? Thank you. Tom?
Okay. Do the roll call, approval of agenda. Kevin, you want to take over?
Yeah, there are no changes, so I would entertain a motion to, there is one change from the agenda that was posted last week. I included the meeting minutes from the Urbanization Committee on September 6th. So if you look at item 711, there was another committee meeting that was Urbanization September 6th. It doesn't show up on the agenda, but it's included in the staff report. So September 6th, Urbanization Committee, that's the only change. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Lee Reader. Is there a second?
Second Burns.
Second Burns. Jolene, will you take roll?
Yes, Trustee Gilbert?
Aye.
Gilbert, aye. Lee Reader?
Aye.
Lee Reader, aye. Abdus?
Aye.
Abdus, aye. Baines?
Aye.
Baines, aye. Barandis is absent. Burns?
Aye.
Burns, aye. Motion is approved.
Thank you, Jolene. Tom, pledge.
Okay, if you join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. At this time, we will take item 1.5, the oath of office for Trustee Thomas Smith. At the September 23rd County Board of Supervisors meeting, the County Board of Supervisors appointed Mr. Tom Smith to serve out the remainder of the term of the vacated assessment seat term, which will go through 2024. So welcome, Mr. Smith. Tom Gilbert. And so Tom Smith, if you'll stand and raise your right hand, and Board President Gilbert will say a few lines and then you repeat after him.
Okay, you ready, Tom?
Ready, set.
I, Tom Smith,
Tom
do
Smith.
do solemnly swear that I support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
I solemnly swear to defend the U.S. Constitution, the California Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
And I will bear true allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Okay, I'm going to try to get all that in.
Do you not have this in front of you? No.
There it is. Okay,
Second line from the bottom.
second line from the bottom.
And I take this
That I
obligation.
bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations, Tom. and we're gonna have to come up, now that we have 3 Toms, we may be using last names during the meetings. So anyway, Mr. Smith, welcome. Pleasure to have you on the board here for RD 1000. And so now you'll be a full member of the board. And so when Jolene takes roll call on items or motions or seconds, you will be called upon to vote in those as well. So welcome. It's like I said, a pleasure to have you, and looking forward to working with you closely, as well as the other trustees feel the same. So
Thank you very much. I am and have always been concerned about flooding and flood control and flood maintenance in the Natomas bathtub, as I used to affectionately refer to it. So I'm definitely committed. I think I have a good background, and really looking forward to helping out the board and the district in general. So anyway, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Great. All right, on to item 1.6. Now that we have the vacancy filled, to fill up the remainder of our committee assignments, President Gilbert has made the recommendation that Mr. Smith fill in for the vacancies, moving Jag to on personnel, but moving him to the chair of personnel committee. So Jag, that's the change. You would be the chair of personnel. Tom Smith would be assigned to personnel as well as to urbanization. So if Jag, if you accept that assignment, that's step 1.
I accept.
Yeah, I accept.
Okay. And then Tom Smith accepts as well, I believe.
Yes, I do.
All right, Mr. Smith, thank you. Thank you, Jag. We'll move on to our agenda packet here. The preliminary stuff out of the way. We have no presentations this morning from any of our consultants, aside from Greg with MBS is on the call for item 6.1, but no scheduled presentations. Item 3, public comment. This is for public commenting. We do have some members of the public, it looks like, on the call this morning. If you'd wish to speak on non-agendized items, you may do so now, and you have 3 minutes to do that. If there is an agenda item that you are joining for that you would like to speak on, we will take those comments up when we open the discussion on that item. So any public comment at this time on non-agendized items?
Yes, I do. I'm not sure how to indicate. Do I just start speaking? I think you mentioned there were 3 public comments.
So just identify your name, and then the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Ed Perez. I'm a resident in Natomas, and I actually just wanted to commend the district for the upcoming trustee elections, particularly the amount of outreach that the district is engaging in. I think that's really beneficial for the community and the district's efforts to really make sure that the customers that we serve really truly appreciate and understand the vital services that the district provides. And incidentally, I was just listening to CNN on Amazon, and boy, there's a lot of RD 1000 ads there. So, and also I do want to thank the district particularly for the accessibility of the resources for the board, the trustee election materials. It's very, very convenient, particularly for any lay person that might be interested in contributing to the board. So again, I just want to commend the district for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez, for the kind words, and you'll be flooded with more information here in the next couple of months. We're anticipating sending out another reminder postcard for the trustee election once the nomination period closes. Another postcard to remind an official ballots coming a week or 2 later. So thank you for those comments, and we've been putting a lot of effort into being more transparent and communicating and doing a lot of outreach this last year in particular. So thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to informational items, general manager's report. I really have only one thing to add to the general manager's report and be happy to answer questions on the information provided. We are going to move the November 11th meeting to November 18th for the Board of Trustees meeting, as November 11th is Veterans Day. While our office will be open, it's a federal holiday, and for public participation, the executive committee made the recommendation, as well as legal counsel, to move it to November 18th. Any questions on the general manager's report?
Kevin,
Hi, Jack.
Okay, Kevin, I do have a question. Since it's the update was a part of general manager's report, under CIP, KSN is working on the preliminary design. So the question I have is, as we go into the CIP program and we start having design and getting projects out to construction, is there like a thought, or at least a chance of considering a committee that just focuses on reviewing the design and during construction?
Yeah, so that would be appropriate for the operations committee, and we're doing some modeling right now for Pumping Plant 8 and getting some really good video footage using Utah State University to model that. They're just about finished with a bunch of different runs to combat some vortexing that we have in our current arrangement. And my thought was, once that research and that modeling is finished, I would share those videos with an operations committee come in probably in the next month or two to set up operations. As far as design goes, the design is peer reviewed. KSN is doing the design work, and then our district engineer Mead and Hunt peer reviews that. If there are alternatives in any of the CIP projects, we'll meet with the operations committee to make a recommendation, or before we go out to bid with the specs, we can take it to the operations committee if that's the desire. And then every year we'll meet with the operations committee to review the CIP plan in our budget process and go through some design. But yes, absolutely, on Plant 8, that's coming. I'm just waiting for the detail from KSN.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep. Chris?
This is Tom Smith. Could I just add that everything's kind of new to me, but I think the world of KSN and their abilities to do this work. I have worked with them in the past, and also worked with Utah State in their hydraulic modeling lab, and think the world of them for doing a good job on something. So as I just look at this, I feel like we're off on a good start already with the selection of those teams. And then could I just ask, because I don't know where Pumping Plant 8 is, could you tell me where that is within the district?
Yeah, Tom, it's near the old Fry's Electronics on Northgate Boulevard, just north of the old Fry's Electronics. And then Tom, as well, I want to get you in for a tour with Gabe and myself of the district so you can become familiar. So when you have time in the next few weeks, please reach out to us. Chris, I wanted to turn to you now, as you had queued up.
Well, I guess with the Pumping Plant 8, or excuse me, not 8, Pumping Plant 1A and B, and the agreement to not shut it down during, or make sure it's operational during flood, did the agreement that we have with them specify that they can't take it apart until we actually have the parts on site? Because I don't want us, with the SAFCA meeting last week and what's happening with Pumping Plant 4 and us waiting for parts to show up from God knows where, the supply chain, I'm concerned that they shut down the plant and then we were 8 months out apart, and then there's no way of getting it back up. So I'm just curious, does the agreement we have say that they can't really tear it down or do anything until they actually have the parts physically on site, so that way there is no hiccup like we have with Pumping Plant 4?
Yeah, Chris, great question. I want to read back through what was finally entered into between SAFCA and the Corps. We provided in specs, but we did make this request specifically before they, particularly the discharge pipes through the levee system prior to the demolition of those discharge pipes, the new pipes be stored on site before taking those out. We did specifically request this, and let me just, before I say yes, it's in the agreement, let me read through it one more time because that's very specific language. But yeah, we were efforting for that, and I'll follow up with you.
I just, with the specifics.
Kevin, I'll offer, sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll offer that I actually, sorry for the background noise. We did work extensively with the Corps to make sure, Chris, I recall that we had this conversation when that agreement was being negotiated, and we worked pretty extensively with the Corps to make sure that that was memorialized. Kevin can go back and check the language, but I'm comfortable that it's there.
Okay.
Thanks, Rebecca.
I just want to make sure, because if it can't get fixed, then do we have our backup plan in place if that contingency falls through?
Yeah, we definitely have the contingencies in for bypass piping and discharge piping around to handle that load. So that language I know is in there, but as Rebecca stated, we think fairly certain that we memorialized having materials on site before demolition. But I'll follow up and I can provide that to you, Chris, so you can read it. But yeah, just like at the safety executive meeting last week or the week before, pumping plant 4, okay, one of our smaller plants, not okay for pumping plant 1A, 1B, and this is what we're so concerned about. So thank you.
Oh, appreciate it.
Any other comments on the general manager's report?
Good morning, this is Glenda Corcoran. I missed you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I missed during public comment. I just want to say hi, Glenda from Congresswoman Matsui's office. Just listening in to report back to her on all things water. Thank you guys for all that you do, and thank you always for reaching out and giving me great updates.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. When we get to item 6.1, if you want to report back to Congresswoman Matsui, we do have a need for $35 million for infrastructure funding. So
I'm writing that down right now. Just tiny small note.
Yeah,
I love it.
Make it a big note.
You never know. I really appreciate your updates. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the operations manager's report now. If I could find the link here. Any questions for Gabe on the ops manager's report? We've been doing a lot of work in getting ready for the flood season and tying things up, as well as some improvements down at the shop and continuing to improve efficiency. We have installed the fleet tracking system, and we're getting used to running those reports now, so we can track the mileage in areas that we've mowed or visited and be able to produce good reports into the future. So that's being kicked off, and a huge benefit to the district, so we can really start following through and pinpointing trouble areas when we get startup of vegetative growth or any of that. So any questions for Gabe or myself on the ops report?
I have one, Kevin. Gabe, I'm looking at the maintenance work schedule that we received. And I was just curious, it says, it lists the 7 crew members and then their trucks. And so each of our crew members have a truck?
Yeah, so each crew member does have his own truck, yes.
Oh, trim. So this is not all the crews, this is just part of it?
No, this is all of our staff.
This is all
of our men, yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Great, that's a great ad, thank you.
Yeah, so they're assigned as kind of 7 different crews, because they're all working independently right now and doing mowing and out in different areas. Come flood season, or when we get to an emergency response period, if the river elevations reach a certain stage and triggers us to be on 24/7 patrol, they'll team up, and so the crew assignments they'll be partnered up for safety reasons and more visibility, driving down the levee system and things like that. So you'll see these crew listings change, but right now they're all kind of working independently throughout the district to address our concerns. So, and you can see like on John and Taylor here, they're both mowing in zone D. This is one of the things that Gabe's really brought to the district too, and identifying different zones, maintenance zones of the district, and really focusing in on certain areas as opposed to bouncing around and using a lot of travel time. We're really focused in our maintenance efforts. So thank you, Gabe, for that. Any other questions for Gabe or myself? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item 4.3, update from General Counsel.
Good morning. So we've been assisting in preparation for your fee study and potential protest vote, as well as getting you all set up for your upcoming fall elections. That's well underway. We're at the point now of kind of getting whatever names are going to be on the ballot in, and we'll wait to the end of the period, obviously, to see who that's going to be, and then sending stuff off to print. So you've seen excellent work, I think, from your outreach team and making sure folks know what's going on, and we're just here to make sure you're compliant. So.
Thanks, Rebecca. One thing of note, the nomination petition period closes on September 15th, at which point it'll be determined if there are more nominees than seats available. We will have an election. If they're a matching number or less than the seats available, the election will be called off. And so we won't do the ballot, those that have been nominated. If they're reviewed and verified, then they would be appointed if we don't have an election. So just wanted to make that note. September 15th, we'll know. This year, as opposed to in 2022, we're well ahead of the curve now with purchased ballot paper. The special paper is already on hand, ready to go. We have the list to the printer. They've done the mail merge, and they're just waiting for the green light to print. And so that'll be the voter information packet, which would include the candidate statements and a voter guide, as well as the official ballot with the list of candidates on the ballot. So we're just waiting for those last pieces of information to conclude. Once we know I have an election, the next step would be to assign our election board, which I will do after the 15th. If we know we're having an election, I will request the County Board of Supervisors to appoint the election board, which would happen in October, and then we'll do training for the election board and then conduct the election. So well ahead of the curve this year. It's been great working with legal and urbanization committees both and getting their feedback, because I think this election process has been a lot smoother than our first mail-in ballots in 2020, and combination with our outreach efforts as well. So thanks, Rebecca, for all the help there and making sure we're right on target. Any questions for Rebecca or myself on the General Counsel report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Normal items here. I would entertain a motion for approval of consent calendar items 5.1 through 5.6. I do want to make a special request on item 5.6 from trustees. We are going to have some expenditure here for printing, particularly election materials, and we need to have the warrant transfer if approved. We need 5 signatures on that warrant transfer, and it'd be great if you guys could stop by early next week. Tom Smith, you're not on the bank card yet, so we don't need you to come down, but we do need you to come down to sign a few things, but not the warrant transfer, because we have to make that change in officers with our bank, and we'll probably do that change after the election in November and swearing in December. So we'll change our bank card. Tom, you're relieved of having to sign any checks or being on our bank card until December, when we'll seat potentially new trustees or reaffirm any incumbents. So that's the special request. If you can arrange with Jolene or Christina to come down, trustees, I need 5 of you to sign that warrant transfer if approved. And if you could do that Monday or Tuesday, it'd be fantastic. So I'd entertain a motion for approval of items 5.1 through 5.6.
So moved, Burns.
Second, Abdus.
Motion by Burns, second by Abdus. Jolene, will you take roll?
Yes, Trustee Gilbert.
Aye.
Gilbert, I. Lee Reader.
Aye.
Lee Reader, I. Abdus.
Aye.
Abdus, I. Baines.
Aye.
Baines, I. Barandis is absent. Burns.
Aye.
Burns, I. Smith.
Aye.
Smith, I. Motion is approved.
Thanks, Jolene. All right, on to item 6.1, our only scheduled item for today. As I mentioned earlier, Greg with MBS is on the call if there's any technical questions. This is a culmination of about 2.5 years worth of work that has gone into the comprehensive financial plan. And what's before you today and what was included in the board packet was the property related fee study. So if we recall, the first step of comprehensive financial planning was phase 1, where we identified and modeled out, our expected expenditures balanced with expected revenues over a 30-year period, incorporating in the adopted CIP requirement for reinvesting in our infrastructure and getting it back up to speed and getting out of the run to failure mode and doing a scheduled replacement of our infrastructure for reliability and redundancy purposes. So this is, like I said, about 2.5 years worth of work. The board did review and provide a comment on a technical memo back in May at the board meeting, and then further directed us to come back and return. And so we are here this morning to review phase 2.2 of the property related fee study. This is the actual study. The first step, if the board so directs this morning, we would then send out an information packet and ask for step 1 on Prop 218 for property related fee is a majority protest vote. So we would need to receive more than 50% of the property ownership in the district protesting us moving forward to step 2. And so what we intend to do, if approved by the board, we intend to send this out for public comment, start the minimum 45-day period. So we'd send this out next week, the protest form and information sheet. And then those would be due back, protest forms. They could either mail them back in or come present to the public hearing on November 18th. So the Finance Committee did review this and recommended that we move it forward to the board for full discussion. This is very similar to the technical memo that was provided back in May. The one caveat being that the major, it's not even a major change, but there is a minimum charge of $1 per parcel on the stormwater related fee, and that covers administrative expense, and that's putting together, and it actually works out to about $35,000 worth of expense on an annual basis. Guess what? We have just about 35,000 parcels in the district. So so $1 minimum fee, and that's really the only change from what was shown in May. And then obviously updated charts with the new assessment roll from Sacramento and Sutter counties that we received in August. So I'll turn it over to the board for any comments or questions.
So on that dollar fee, is that reflected in the appendix C that we get the base amount, or do we need to update appendix C to reflect the fact that people are going to be charged that additional dollar somehow?
Yeah, Chris, it's reflected in the updated chart. Greg's nodding his head, and that is in appendix C. Those are the figures.
So the base fee of $26 includes that dollar charge. I just want to make sure if we're putting it out there that people see that there's no question that they're going to be charged, even if it's $1. That's all.
Greg, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so the $1 minimum charge is intended to, we have some properties that are very small impervious surfaces, such that if the rate calculates out to 10 cents, we don't want to submit a 10-cent charge to the county secured property tax roll. So any property that has a calculated fee under $1, that fee is increased to $1. So that's the purpose and calculation of the $1 amount. I'm unclear. You mentioned $26 minimum. I think you're conflating the existing assessment.
No, I'm sorry. But I'm saying the single family residence charge is $26. And I'm just curious if that dollar fee is reflected in everybody's charge on the appendix.
Yes, that's correct. The $1 charge is included in all the amounts in the appendix.
Thanks, Greg.
You're very welcome.
Nick, I saw that you queued up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I appreciate that, Kevin. So I get the methodology for the minimum, or the fee for single family properties. As it relates to government properties, like the airport, for example, have there been discussions with the county, and also has there been outreach to the ag folks or growers out in the basin as it relates to this fee calculation and what's coming down the pike?
Yes, there has, Nick. I've spoke with the county. I've requested to meet with Safeca to go over with their executive team, and I've met with the city as well. So that's been covered. I did attend the Thomas Mutual Water Company's board meeting last month, and have been reaching out to individual landowners that would be impacted with the proposed fee. And so I'm knocking those off the list as we get through. And there's still some time, right? If there's no majority protest, we'll move on. So we still have 2 months or so before the voters are on step 2, if it continues to progress, to actually approve the fee. So yeah, we've been doing a ton of outreach and have specifically talked to the groups that you mentioned.
Okay, I appreciate that. And there's a lot of work that's gone into this, and I'm looking forward to seeing this through and hearing from folks. So thank you.
Great, Nick, thanks. Any other comments from trustees before we turn it over for public comment?
Kevin, this is Tom. I just wanted a clarification. You mentioned the $1 minimum fee and related that to the 35,000 individual parcels, making it $35,000. I get it, but we're not going to be generating that kind of money from this. This is really a very small subset of the parcels that fall into this category. Isn't that correct?
Correct. As Greg clarified, it's for anyone that has a calculated fee. I mean, there's a handful of them that the minimum charge to pay their portion of us administering the assessment or the property related fee, they would pay $1. Like everyone else is paying $1, they pay $1 as well. So that's kind of the baseline minimum charge, and it covers a very, very small subset.
So just in my mind, so relating that is that this minimum fee has the potential of generating $1,000.
Probably.
Okay, I just put it in perspective, yes.
Yeah. And if you go through the 700 pages of the appendix, if there's any $1 charge, you could probably add it up pretty quickly going through the 700 pages. There are probably not a lot of them.
Correct. Okay.
Any other questions from trustees? Chris, you queued up again?
I just, to Tom's point though, there's that 3,500 properties that aren't even charged at all, correct? Well, the Garden Highway people and those that receive services from other, yep. So they're not even on the list or included in any of the.
They're excluded from the property related fee because they receive no stormwater service from the district. So those 3,500, and that's part of the development of this, and realizing that the city is providing those services for those areas and bifurcating our levy operations and maintenance from our stormwater services. The 3,500 folks that you mentioned, Chris, still will receive our existing assessment and charge that due to their participation and benefit from the exterior levy system. So
yeah, I understand. I just wanted to make sure, because those people aren't being charged anything on this. Thank you.
Unless something changes with the city and they ask us to make that a service area in the future, for now they are not included in the stormwater portion of our revenue need. Any other questions from trustees? Okay, hearing none, I'll turn it over for public comment. Any members from the public wishing to speak on item 6.1 may do so now. Again, you have 3 minutes. All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to direct staff to circulate for public comment the property related fee study to conclude with a public hearing on November 18th. The public hearing would start in and around 8 a.m. when we get through all of our agenda. Be the first item on the agenda. We'd open it up for any final public comment and then close the public hearing. And then the board at that point has an option based on the protest's return. If there's a majority protest, then there is no action for the board to take. We'd have to start the process over again. If there is not a majority protest, the board will entertain any public comments or questions and then make a decision to adopt the final engineer study, which will be this same version, or adopt or not adopt the final engineer study. If the engineer study is adopted at that time, we would then go out for public approval, step 2, in the specified time frame. So that would be a special ballot measure. So I would entertain a motion to direct staff to circulate for public comment, concluding on November 18th, the property fee study.
Abdus moves the staff recommendation.
I second.
Motion by Abdus, second by the reader. Jolene, will you take roll? Rebecca, I got that right, correct? All right. Jolene, will you take roll?
Yes, trustee Gilbert.
Aye.
Gilbert, aye. Lee Reader.
Aye.
Lee Reader, aye. Abdus.
Aye.
Abdus, aye. Baines.
Aye.
Baines, aye. Brandis is absent. Burns.
Aye.
Burns, aye. Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Motion's approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. I do want to point out, if you haven't had an opportunity yet, but to go out and what we talked about urbanization, go on to fornatomas.org. We've spent a lot of time on outreach. We have a really good video up there on our new YouTube channel. So we're finally getting into YouTube, and maybe we'll get some royalties for the district for revenue side if we produce really good content and get 1 million viewers. But anyway, there's a lot of really great information on fornatomas.org. We are working in the next 2 months with the outreach team, now that we have the tables here, to provide a lookup tool that property owners, which will be provided by November, if the engineer's report is approved at that time for approval, that property owners could go in and look up by APN, by street address, or by owner name and figure out their exact combination of the proposed fee, so they could print out on their own and just have a widget or a tool to be able to do that. In the meantime, if we have questions from the public, I can easily run those reports to show them. And when I've been meeting with the targeted groups, I've pulled out, based on last year's assessment, pulled out what potential fees could be for these particular areas, and it's been really beneficial to go that route. But fornatomas.org, please visit it. If you get questions from constituents, direct them there, because they should have pretty much everything they need to know, and they can always reach out to me for more detailed information. So thank you. All right, last item, 7.1, any comments from trustees on any of the information provided or the committee meeting minutes?
Well, Kevin, just for your purposes and planning for the November 18th meeting, I will not be in attendance. So that way,
Okay.
you know about quorum. And
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for the heads up. We will have, hopefully, Mr. Brandis is recovering from a surgery, so hopefully he'll be able to attend and fully recovered by that time. And now that we have Trustee Smith sworn in, we should be able to have a quorum there. All right, well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Nobody wants to.
You guys all want to stay on? All right. So party.
Baptist moves to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Motion by Abdus, second by Lee Reader. Jillian, will you take roll on adjournment?
Yes, Trustee Gilbert.
Aye.
Gilbert, I. Lee Reader.
Aye.
Reader, I. Abdus.
Aye.
Abdus, I. Baines.
Aye.
Baines, I. Barandis is absent. Burns.
Aye.
Burns, I. Smith.
Aye.
Smith, I. Motion's approved.
Just real quick, legal committee, I will be sending out an agenda for next week's legal committee meeting this afternoon. So that's set for Thursday at 8 a.m. So I'll send that out once I get language back from legal counsel.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a great weekend.